The Centurion flagship Star Weaver dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, its crystalline hull refracting sunlight in dazzling patterns. Ambassador Rallin stood on the observation deck, his iridescent scales shifting from deep blue to green with anticipation. This was meant to be a routine first contact with yet another emerging civilization, but something about the sensor readings troubled him. Ambassador, his science officer, Tekler, called from her station. Her tentacles waved in agitation as she analyzed the data. "I'm detecting inconsistencies." Rallin glided across the deck to her station. "Explain." "The humans' technology levels don't align with any known development pattern. They're using primitive fossil fuels alongside antimatter containment fields. Their cities employ both basic electrical grids and quantum entanglement communications. It's as if they're deliberately mixing advanced and primitive technologies." "Perhaps they simply developed unevenly," Rallin suggested, though his scales rippled with doubt. In 3 centuries of diplomatic service, he'd never encountered anything quite like this. As they approached Earth, more anomalies emerged. The humans had detected their arrival instantly, despite supposedly lacking advanced sensor technology. The designated landing site in a place called Nevada was perfectly calibrated to their ship's specifications, yet Earth supposedly hadn't encountered alien vessels before. The welcoming committee consisted of just 3 humans. No media circus, no military parade, no panicking crowds. Just 2 women and a man in simple clothing, waiting calmly in the desert heat. "I don't like this," Tekler muttered as they prepared to disembark. "Their behavior doesn't match any first contact protocols we've encountered." Rallin silently agreed, but they were committed now. As the ship's ramp descended, he prepared his carefully crafted speech about welcoming humanity into the galactic community. The words died in his throat as one of the humans stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Rallin," she said in perfect Centurion, her pronunciation flawless. "I'm Dr. Emily Chen, Earth's diplomatic liaison. I trust your journey through the Orion Spur was pleasant. The solar winds can be quite turbulent this time of year." Rallin's secondary heart skipped a beat. They hadn't told Earth their route. And how did she know about the solar wind patterns in their sector? "You speak our language," he managed, trying to maintain his diplomatic composure. Dr. Chen smiled warmly. "We find it's helpful to be prepared. Shall we head inside? We've prepared a facility that matches Centurion atmospheric preferences, though I should warn you, our technology might seem a bit eclectic." The facility she led them to appeared to be a simple concrete building. Yet Rallin's personal scanner detected energy readings that shouldn't be possible with Earth's supposed level of advancement. The door opened with an old-fashioned mechanical handle, but the air inside was perfectly calibrated to Centurion physiology, down to the smallest trace elements. "Please, make yourselves comfortable." Dr. Chen gestured to chairs that seemed to be made of plain metal, but somehow adjusted automatically to support Centurion anatomy. "Would you like refreshments? We have synthesized your traditional welcoming drink, though some visitors prefer our human coffee." Tekler's tentacles coiled tightly. How could you possibly know how to synthesize? "Trial and error," the male human interrupted with a gentle smile. He introduced himself as Dr. James Martinez, technological advisor. "We're quite good at figuring things out. Coffee." Rallin accepted a cup of the dark human beverage, noting how the seemingly simple ceramic mug maintained the liquid at precisely the right temperature without any visible technology. Every detail reinforced the growing suspicion that they were missing something enormous about humanity. "I believe," Dr. Chen said, settling into her own chair, "you have questions. Let's start with the one you haven't asked yet. Why would a civilization capable of synthesizing Centurion biochemistry and building quantum-adjusted atmospheric systems pretend to be struggling with fossil fuels?" Rallin's scales shifted to deep purple, shock. "You're admitting to the deception." Deception implies harmful intent. The third human spoke for the first time. She introduced herself as General Sarah Williams, We prefer to think of it as maintaining perspective. Sometimes the old ways have value, Ambassador. Not every problem requires the most advanced solution. But why? Tekler demanded. Why deliberately appear primitive? Dr. Chen's smile took on a hint of sadness. Because true wisdom isn't about having the most advanced technology. It's about knowing when and how to use it. Humanity learned that lesson long ago. Perhaps it's time we helped others learn it too. As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. General Williams checked a device that appeared to be a simple wristwatch, but displayed a holographic readout that surpassed anything in the Centurion fleet. Right on schedule, she said grimly. Ambassador, it seems the universe has decided to show rather than tell. We're detecting multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, raiders from the Crixian expanse. They've been targeting developing worlds, and they believe Earth is defenseless. Dr. Chen stood, her pleasant diplomatic demeanor shifting to something ancient and powerful. Would you like to see what humanity is really capable of, Ambassador? We've been protecting younger civilizations from threats like this for longer than your people have been traveling the stars. Relen watched in stunned silence as the simple concrete walls around them transformed, revealing a command center that made his flagship's bridge look like a child's toy. The truth about humanity was about to become very clear, and he suspected the galaxy would never be the same. The Crixian raiders never knew what hit them. Their ships, bristling with weapons that could level cities, simply stopped. No explosions, no dramatic battles. They froze in space as if caught in invisible amber. Localized space-time manipulation field, Dr. Martinez explained casually to the stunned Centurion delegation. Much cleaner than weapons. Less paperwork, too. Ambassador Ralen watched as the raiders' ships were gently guided into a holding pattern around Earth's moon. His scales had shifted to pure white, a sign of complete astonishment in his species. You possess technology that can control space-time itself, yet your cities still burn fossil fuels. Among other things, General Williams replied, her fingers dancing over what looked like an ancient mechanical keyboard, but somehow controlled the most advanced systems Ralen had ever seen. The raiders are secure. Dr. Chen, shall we move to Phase 2? Dr. Chen nodded, turning to their visitors. Ambassador, we've been concealing ourselves for millennia, guiding younger civilizations from the shadows. But something is coming, something that requires us to be more direct in our approach. Before Ralen could respond, a new alert flashed across the command center screens. Light years away, at the edge of Centurion space, an archaeological team had just made a discovery that would shatter the galaxy's understanding of history. The team's leader, Dr. Vexna, stared at her findings in disbelief. The artifacts she'd uncovered weren't just predating known civilization. They were human in origin. Her hands trembled as she activated her quantum communicator. Central Authority, she reported. I found evidence that humans were among the stars when my people were still learning to make fire. The command center in Nevada displayed her transmission in real time. Dr. Chen smiled softly. Right on schedule. Ambassador, would you like to know why we've maintained our technological masquerade for so long? She gestured, and the facility's walls became transparent, revealing vast underground complexes stretching for miles in every direction. Ancient ships, temporal observatories, and technologies that defied description stood alongside simple steam engines and internal combustion motors. Humanity reached the stars millions of years ago, Dr. Martinez explained. We built empires, fought wars that made stars go dark, wielded power that no species should possess. And then we realized something that nearly destroyed us. Technology without wisdom is a path to extinction. General Williams pulled up historical records that made Tekler's tentacles curl in shock. We nearly wiped ourselves out dozens of times before we understood. True advancement isn't about having the most powerful tools. It's about knowing when not to use them. Across the galaxy, more discoveries were pouring in. Human artifacts, millions of years old, found on thousands of worlds, each piece telling the same story. An ancient civilization that had reached godlike power and chosen to step back. We established Earth as a preserve, Dr. Chen continued. A place to remember our roots, to maintain perspective. Those fossil fuel plants you mentioned, they remind us of the cost of progress without foresight. The simple machines teach us humility. Every piece of primitive technology serves a purpose in our development program. Development program? Raylan asked, his diplomatic training struggling to process the implications. For ourselves and others, Dr. Martin smiled. We've been guiding younger species, helping them avoid our mistakes. Those raiders we just stopped. They'll wake up tomorrow with no memory of the incident, but with a mysterious new understanding of why conquest isn't the answer. Suddenly, every screen in the facility lit up with urgent warnings. Dr. Chen's expression turned grave. And now you understand why we're revealing ourselves. Something is awakening out there. Something we fought eons ago. Something that requires us to stop hiding and start preparing the galaxy's younger races for what's coming. The images on the screen showed a darkness spreading between the stars, a void that consumed light itself. General Williams' ancient-looking wristwatch projected a countdown that made the humans' expressions turn grim. Ambassador, Dr. Chen said softly, your people call themselves the Centurion Alliance, masters of known space. But there are regions of space that aren't known, threats that we've been holding back since before your ancestors discovered fire. It's time for humanity to step out of the shadows, not as conquerors, but as teachers. And if we refuse your guidance? Tekler asked, her scientific skepticism warring with the evidence before her. Dr. Martinez chuckled. My dear, you've been accepting our guidance for centuries. Every mysterious scientific breakthrough, every seemingly impossible leap in understanding. We've been there, nudging, suggesting, protecting. The only difference now is that we're telling you about it. As if to emphasize his point, a section of the facility's floor became transparent, revealing a vast chamber filled with ships that made the Centurion flagship look like a primitive canoe. Yet among these marvels stood museums of simple machines, preserved as carefully as any ancient treasure. The question isn't whether you'll accept our guidance, General Williams said, her eyes fixed on the spreading darkness in the long-range scans. The question is whether the galaxy's younger races are ready to learn what humanity discovered millions of years ago. The most advanced civilization isn't the one with the most powerful weapons. It's the one wise enough to know when not to use them. The facility's alarms began to sing in harmony, a sound that somehow conveyed both warning and hope. Humanity's masquerade was ending, and the true history of the galaxy was about to be rewritten. Deep within Earth's Mariana Trench, in a facility that bent light around itself, Commander Maya Patil gazed at the wall of time. Thousands of holographic displays showed pivotal moments across the galaxy. Civilizations taking their first steps into space, species on the brink of self-destruction, and countless moments where humanity's hidden hand had gently nudged the cosmos toward wisdom rather than catastrophe. Status report, she commanded, her simple cotton uniform belying her authority over technology that could reshape reality. The Centurion delegation is processing the revelation well, her AI companion Delta responded, its avatar manifesting as a simple blue light. Another example of humanity's deliberate technological restraint. Dr. Chen is preparing to show them the archives. Maya nodded, watching as another screen showed Dr. Vexna's archaeological team uncovering more human artifacts. The young alien scientist's discoveries were no accident. Humanity had been carefully orchestrating this revelation for centuries. They're ready for Phase 3, Maya decided. Initialize the awakening protocol. Across the galaxy, seemingly dormant human technology began to stir. Not weapons or warships, but something far more powerful, knowledge, carefully preserved and protected until the younger races were ready to understand it. Back in Nevada, Ambassador Raylan and Tekler followed Dr. Chen through a doorway that shouldn't have been possible, a simple wooden door that somehow connected Nevada to the heart of Mount Everest. This is the first archive, Dr. Chen explained as they entered a vast chamber carved into the mountain's core. We maintain similar facilities across Earth and throughout the galaxy, each preserving different aspects of our history and knowledge. The chamber was a study in contradictions. Quantum computers operated alongside abacuses. Digital displays shared space with paper books. And at the center, a simple wooden table held what appeared to be an ordinary cup of water. "Your first test," Dr. Martins said, gesturing to the cup. "Tell us, what do you see?" Tekler waved her analytical tentacles over the cup. "It's just water." "No, wait." Her instruments were reporting impossible readings. "This water is perfect, molecularly perfect. Every atom aligned with mathematical precision that shouldn't be possible. The simplest things are often the most profound," General Williams remarked. "This cup demonstrates why humanity chose to step back from godlike power. We learned to create perfect water, yes, but in doing so, we almost forgot the beauty of a raindrop." The chamber's walls shifted, revealing humanity's true history. They watched as human civilization rose and fell multiple times, each cycle reaching further into the cosmos, wielding greater power, until finally achieving something beyond mere technological supremacy: wisdom. "We were like children with fusion bombs," Dr. Martinez explained. "We could split atoms before we truly understood why we shouldn't. We could reshape planets before we learned to cherish them as they were. Each time we fell, we rose again, until we finally understood the responsibility that comes with power." Suddenly, alarms echoed through the facility. But these were different from the earlier warnings. These sounds carried an ancient weight that made even the humans pause. "The Void Heralds," General Williams announced grimly. "They're awakening faster than we predicted." The chamber's displays shifted to show the spreading darkness between the stars. But now Relin and Tekler could see what they hadn't before: patterns in the void, purpose in the darkness. This wasn't just some natural phenomenon. It was the return of something that humanity had fought eons ago. "Before we reveal more," Dr. Chen said, her voice carrying the weight of millions of years of human experience, "you need to understand what we've been protecting you from. The Void Heralds aren't just an enemy. They're a test that every spacefaring civilization must face. They embody the temptation to use power without wisdom, to take without understanding the cost of taking. We fought them," General Williams continued, "back when we were like them, drunk on our own power, certain of our superiority. The war reshaped galaxies, and in the end, we learned that victory wasn't about having the strongest weapons." Dr. Martinez approached the cup of perfect water and added a single drop of ordinary rain. The perfect molecular alignment shattered, creating something new, something natural and imperfect and beautiful. "Sometimes," he said softly, "the most advanced solution is knowing when to embrace imperfection. The Void Heralds cannot comprehend this. They seek perfection through power, order through dominance. They're what humanity might have become if we hadn't learned to step back." The facility hummed with energy as more of humanity's hidden technology awakened. Not to fight, but to prepare, to teach, to guide, to help the galaxy's younger races understand what had taken humanity millions of years to learn. "Your people aren't ready to wield our highest technologies," Dr. Chen told the Centurion delegates. "But you're ready to begin understanding why we chose not to wield them ourselves. The question is, are you prepared to learn?" As if in answer, the darkness between the stars pulsed, and across the galaxy, younger civilizations looked up at their skies in fear and wonder. Humanity's time in the shadows was ending, not with a show of force, but with an offer of guidance. The true test was about to begin. In Earth's orbital ring, carefully hidden behind holographic clouds, Sarah Chen watched the galaxy prepare for war. Not with weapons. Humanity had learned better, but with understanding. The Centurion delegation had spread the word, and now representatives from 1,000 species were arriving, each discovering that Earth's primitive space stations were gateways to technologies beyond their comprehension. They're adapting well, Ambassador Rallan noted, his scales now a thoughtful shade of blue-green. After 3 weeks of revelations, he'd become an eager student of humanity's philosophy. Though some still demand access to your advanced weapons. Of course they do. Sarah smiled, watching a holographic display showing civilizations across the galaxy discovering carefully planted human artifacts. We did too, once. The hardest lesson we learned was that the most powerful weapon isn't a weapon at all. The station's observation deck shifted, its seemingly glass windows becoming a vast display of the approaching void heralds. The darkness between stars had purpose now, moving with terrible intelligence. They're not just an enemy, Sarah explained, gesturing to patterns that only humanity's ancient understanding could perceive. They're a reflection of what happens when a civilization gains power without wisdom. We know. We nearly became them. Deep in the Horsehead Nebula, Dr. Vexnad made another discovery. This time, she wasn't alone. Human archaeologists worked alongside her team, revealing layers of history that had been hidden in plain sight. "This is impossible," she whispered, examining a device that appeared to be both ancient and brand new. "The quantum dating shows it's millions of years old, but it's still functioning perfectly. Because it was designed to," explained Dr. James Martinez, who had quietly appeared beside her. "Some technology doesn't need to be flashy or powerful. Sometimes, the most advanced solution is the one that endures." The device activated, projecting a history that made Vexnad's species' proudest achievements seem like a child's first steps. But it wasn't a history of conquest or technological superiority. It was a record of humanity's failures, their lessons, their growth. Back on Earth, in a classroom that defied normal spacetime, General Williams addressed representatives from across the galaxy. The room appeared to be a simple lecture hall, but each attendee experienced it in their own atmospheric conditions, their own gravity, their own way of perceiving reality. "The Void Heralds aren't coming to destroy you," she explained, her voice translated perfectly into 1,000 languages. "They're coming to offer you what they offered us millions of years ago: power without price, advancement without wisdom, perfection without understanding." The room's walls became transparent, revealing the true Earth beneath its carefully maintained disguise. Vast cities that existed out of phase with normal spacetime, technologies that could reshape reality, and yet, scattered throughout, preserved examples of humanity's simpler tools and machines. "We keep these," Williams gestured to a preserved steam engine, "not because we need them, but because they remind us of something crucial. Every tool, no matter how simple or advanced, has a lesson to teach." In orbit, Sarah led Ambassador Rallan through a door that opened into the heart of Jupiter's great red spot. Here, in a storm that had raged for centuries, humanity maintained one of its most important facilities, not a weapons platform or a shield generator, but a library. "Your people believe the storm is a natural phenomenon," she explained as they walked through halls containing the accumulated knowledge of millions of years. "In a way it is. We learned long ago that the best hiding places are the ones that don't look like hiding places at all." The facility's alerts suddenly changed tone, not warning, but recognition. The Void Heralds had begun their approach to occupied space, and their message was the same one they'd offered humanity eons ago: surrender to perfection. "Why maintain the deception for so long?" Rallan asked, watching as the darkness approached. "Why not simply show your power and leave the galaxy openly?" Sarah's smile held millions of years of human experience, because true leadership isn't about showing power. It's about teaching others to use their own power wisely. "We didn't hide because we were afraid. We hid because some lessons can only be learned through experience." Across the galaxy, humanity's hidden guardians emerged from their cover of primitive technology. Not with weapons or shields, but with something far more powerful: understanding. As the Void Heralds approached, humanity prepared to teach the galaxy's younger races the hardest lesson they'd ever learned: that the strongest defense against the darkness isn't technology or weapons, but the wisdom to know why you shouldn't need them. The true test, Sarah said, watching the galaxy's younger races prepare for what was coming, isn't whether we can defeat the Void Heralds. It's whether we can teach you to understand why they're already defeated, not by our power, but by our choice to use it differently. The darkness between the stars grew closer, but now it faced something it had never encountered before: a humanity that had spent millions of years preparing not for war, but for understanding. The Void Heralds arrived not with violence, but with a whisper that echoed across civilized space. Their message was simple, seductive: accept our gift of perfection. In Earth's primary command center, buried in the quantum realm beneath Antarctica, Maya Patel stood before representatives of 10,000 worlds. The chamber appeared to be a simple auditorium, but it existed simultaneously in every major capital of every spacefaring race. "Watch carefully," she said, as the Void Herald's first demonstration began. Around a distant star, reality itself seemed to crystallize, transforming an entire solar system into a mathematically perfect structure. "This is what we refused eons ago." Ambassador Rowland's scales shifted to deep gold, wonder mixed with fear. "It's beautiful," he admitted. "Yes," Sarah Chen agreed, standing beside him. "Just as a perfectly aligned crystal is beautiful, and just as dead." The display shifted, showing the transformed system in spectrums beyond normal space. Where there had been a vibrant ecosystem of planets, now there was only sterile perfection. Where there had been evolution and change, now there was only stasis. "We almost accepted their gift," Dr. Martinez explained, his simple clothing now revealed as an interface with technologies beyond comprehension. "We nearly became them. Perfect. Unchanging. Empty." Across the galaxy, humanity's hidden guardians activated their final protocol. Not a weapon, not a shield, but a lesson written in the language of reality itself. Every piece of primitive technology they'd maintained, every simple machine they'd preserved, began to tell its story. In the Centurion capital, steam engines revealed quantum equations hidden in their steam patterns. On distant worlds, internal combustion engines demonstrated principles of cosmic expansion in their firing cycles. Simple wooden doors became gateways to understanding that transcended normal spacetime. The Void Herald's perfect crystal ships approached Earth, their message unchanged: accept perfection, end chaos, become eternal. Maya stepped forward, her voice carrying to every world, every species, every being capable of understanding. "We offer something different," she said. "Not perfection, but growth. Not stasis, but change. Not power, but wisdom." The simple cup of water from the first archive appeared before every representative. But now they could see what humanity had seen millions of years ago, that in its very imperfection lay the seeds of something greater than perfection. "Your civilizations look at humanity's primitive technology and see weakness," General Williams announced. "The Void Heralds look at it and see inefficiency. But look deeper." The chamber's quantum displays revealed the truth that humanity had hidden for so long. Every primitive technology they'd maintained contained patterns that echoed through reality itself. The smoke from steam engines traced paths that matched galactic evolution. The rhythm of internal combustion mapped the heartbeat of spacetime. "We didn't maintain these technologies because we needed them," Sarah explained, as understanding dawned in the eyes of 10,000 species. "We maintain them because they teach something that the Void Heralds can never understand: that perfection is not the absence of flaws, but the acceptance of them." The Void Herald's crystal ships halted as their sensors detected something impossible. Humanity wasn't fighting back with weapons or shields. Instead, they were doing something far more dangerous. They were teaching. Across the galaxy, younger races began to understand. They saw how humanity's seemingly primitive technologies contained profound truths. They recognized that the choice to use simple tools alongside advanced ones wasn't weakness, but wisdom. The Void Heralds offer perfection without understanding, Maya continued. We offer understanding without the promise of perfection. The choice has always been yours. In that moment, as crystal ships hung motionless in space, the galaxy's younger races made their choice. Not with weapons or technology, but with understanding. They chose imperfection. They chose growth. They chose life. The Void Herald's perfect crystal ships began to dissolve, not from any weapon, but from contact with something they couldn't comprehend. The beauty of imperfection, the strength of weakness, the power of choosing not to use power. This was always the test, Sarah told Ambassador Rallin as they watched the darkness between the stars recede. Not whether you could defeat them, but whether you could understand why they had already lost. Across the galaxy, humanity's hidden technologies powered down, not in surrender, but in victory. They had accomplished what no weapon could. They had taught the galaxy's younger races why the most advanced civilization isn't the one with the most power, but the one wise enough to know why power isn't the answer. What now? Raylan asked, his scales shifting to a color that had no name, the color of understanding. Maya smiled, picking up a simple pencil from her desk. Now we teach you everything else we've learned. Not because we're superior, but because every teacher was once a student, and every student becomes a teacher. The darkness between the stars had lifted, and in its place was something greater than perfection, the endless possibility of growth, change, and wisdom. Humanity stepped fully into the light, not as conquerors or saviors, but as teachers ready to share the hardest lesson they'd ever learned. That true advancement isn't about reaching the stars, but about understanding why we reach for them at all. The end.